Tonight, an exclusive 5 on Your Side investigation, how a multi-million-dollar Cleveland port deal is now posing serious safety and health risks. 5 on Your Side Chief Investigator Ron Regan found it's a deal that benefited all but the very people it was supposed to help.
Well, Rob, investors bought Port Authority bonds, and though tax dollars were not used to finance the deal, a high-rise apartment complex ultimately got hundreds of thousands of tax dollars in rent subsidies, while residents remain at risk. Is there security?
No, sorry.
Doors without locks, security cameras unplugged, and elevators.
They told me when I moved in that the elevator was going to work. It don't work. You get on that elevator, you might get stuck.
It's a low-income apartment complex.
There's kids in this building.
In East Cleveland.
Old ladies in this building.
We need light bulbs, we need the elevators fixed, we need this door secure.
Far away from mega real estate deals like these, from the flats to the Rock Hall. But we found the same group that made all these happen also brought you this.
Dead mouse in my mop water.
If you had to give it a grade
Failed.
They failed.
They failed.
The Port Authority of Cleveland helped finance the sale of Forest Hills Park, issuing nearly $6 million in bonds that investors bought. It believed it would revitalize it. William Friedman is the port's CEO.
Quite candidly, our board and management like the idea of infusing some dollars into a community that needs it.
A 174-unit high-rise apartment that we found is unsafe. Melran Leach oversees housing in East Cleveland. What condition is that property in?
The property's in terrible condition.
Terrible condition, despite what's shown in this marketing video used to drum up investors. While investors saw this, housing inspectors saw this. Fire code, roof and drainage, and electrical violations. Even so, $6 million worth of port bonds were issued. Now, less than 2 years later, conditions here,
A family of 6 raccoons.
remain dismal.
This is my mailbox. I can't get my mail. Somebody stole my checks. It just don't make no sense. They go in here, look at this.
It's all been vandalized.
Look at this. Yeah, they need these people's mail. People stay here, look. Everybody's mailbox is open.
So how did the port, whose sole mission is to spur job creation and economic vitality, get involved?
Well, this group had come to us.
A firm in Georgia specializing in raising cash and bought by a Virginia nonprofit. The port believed the complex would be rehabbed.
They have a fairly good track record. There was no indication that they weren't going to come in and do a good job.
Yet even while housing violations were piling up, an appraiser hired by those pitching the deal determined it was in good to fair condition with no immediate repairs.
Somebody didn't do their due diligence.
And it's all perfectly legal, despite this unsafe structure violation that both the port and investors were unaware of. The entire structure?
Not all of it, but the majority of it is unsafe.
It don't make no sense.
Back in December 2015, our 5 on Your Side investigation found trash and garbage piling up just months after the bond deal was signed.
$99 every month. Why they can't get nothing done? Look at this. Who wanna live like this? And I want my money back.
And it's taxpayers who paid more than $800,000 in federal rent subsidies with little or nothing to show for it. Nearly $200,000 in taxes remain unpaid. A payment plan's now in place. And a leading bond rating agency found the project exhibits poor operational performance. And those bonds have been downgraded. How does that reflect? Is there a concern that it reflects on business decisions?
Well, absolutely. I mean, while we may not have financial risk, we have reputational risk. We are out in the bond market a lot, and so it matters.
The port says only investors could lose money, and it's powerless to help.
We have absolutely no rights to come in and intervene and take over management of the building.
And while residents are struggling.
This is inhumane for people to live in.
This washing machine is filled with...
Yeah, they leave them like this. So
it's just filled with water? They don't work.
Pretty much as is.
The nearly $6 million boondoggle earned an army of accountants, lawyers, the port, and others nearly $500,000 in fees.
There's people here that need it. It's senior citizens. It's people
They need help.
It's people with children. It's a lot.
Well, the original owner has since gotten out of the deal, and both the current owner and its management company say they're working toward improving that property and point to some $96,000 in expenses they say they paid so far. I'm 5 on your side Chief Investigator Ron Regan.
My goodness, if there's